All right. Good morning, everybody. See everybody out here today. We're going to get started. I was having operator error. I thought that my screen was coming through reverse, but it looks like it's not. So it's all good. Let's roll on. We are day 2. What is this? 18 January still? Almost the 19th in some places of the world. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get started. I was trying to find a funny meme or a picture. It wasn't even a meme. That's what's even worse. On Twitter here, there was a picture of the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency broadcast that they did the other day, the brief, and the guy had the login password behind him in the picture. Hopefully that was to the computer, not to their whole system, which I imagine it was, but it was still pretty funny. But let's get started with some news of the day. That was supposed to be funny to start off with, but not so funny out east and down in the south with the weather they're seeing. I guess there's been a pretty high death toll, storm tragedies across the news with that system. Hopefully the recovery goes well. But good news for us out here in the west. You can see here, low pressure coming through. Going to bring us some nice weather, it looks like. So that's good for out here. At least we're going to soak up some of that water for you guys out east so you guys can recover and do what you do south instead of being the Midwest. For some of you like Saints out there, hey, how you doing? Tactical Tony's with us. Thanks for joining, fellas. Anybody else out there comment? Let's see what's going on your side of the globe. Or if it's flat, if you say it's your side of the pizza pie, whatever. If you think it's flat, that's fine. But yeah, the weather hitting pretty impactful out there down south and out east from yesterday's storm. And it's all about recovery now. Saw quite a few pictures out of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. Some serious, for them, the key thing people out west got to remember is that snow is about twice as much water as what we get out here when that snow comes down. So when it freezes or it gets packed down, it's literally ice. It's not like out here where the snow takes a lot to compact it because it's so dry. Out there, it's practically water. It's just barely frozen. But living large, looking like a nice day out here. As we start off with the weather. Again, we got our storm coming in tomorrow here in the west. And currently, looks fairly clear, cold across that whole area there. Lake effect snows. And out here in the west, we're just prepping and getting ready, and they got snow in Montana and rain. Rain looks like even, they don't need rain up there. It's January. Over to the news. A lot of stuff came out yesterday. One thing I wanted to hit up that kind of snuck under the radar. There were net neutrality hearings yesterday. And guess who was up there begging for net neutrality? Your buddies from the big three, your Facebook, your YouTube, and your Twitter. All three were up there telling Congress how much they loved net neutrality and that they need the government's help to do their job, essentially. That's all they're doing. They talked about it. They did these presentations. They're doing all the things that Congress thinks they should be doing, but of course, without the government backing them with this law, they feel vulnerable. They feel like they might lose some money if they get sued. That's probably the biggest thing. But go check out that. You can search on that. It's not even on Drudge here, I don't see. But I would say it's fairly a big deal for most Americans. Net neutrality just got pulled, and they're trying to put it back in. Because previously it was an executive order, if you remember. And now they're trying to get it passed in as a firm law. So what was policy, they're trying to make law. Even though nobody wants it. Well, I shouldn't say nobody wants it. Oh, here they are. Down in lower... Drudge is screwy. Lower left-hand corner of Drudge. It was all about extremist content. All those white nationalists, all those Russian hackers who mostly work for the NSA probably. They didn't talk about it. They said something about 3 million accounts a day or something. Let's hush you right there. Or a day they were talking about. So there's a link on CNN or CNBC, and you can find on all the big sites. I'm sure they're going to focus in this story about extremism, but it's still about net neutrality, making things fair.
Executives from Facebook, Twitter, as well as YouTube
said hush.
Speaking right now.
But yeah, you want to see what they're trying to do behind your back. Yeah, that was really under the radar. It popped up on the G Plus midday yesterday, and everybody kind of let it slide under the radar, it looked like. So we'll see what happens. Maybe it won't get out of the hearing stage. Maybe it doesn't have that much support. From what I saw of a couple stories, the Democrats who are pushing it said that they had only like 3 votes to go. They needed 3 Republicans to come over to their side, basically, go to the dark side. Well, they're all on the dark side in the Capitol, though. So somehow they're under fire. Here it talks about YouTube's algorithms and everything. And this goes right along with this new policy YouTube put out. It goes back to YouTube's problem is the big channels. I talked about this yesterday in my video. The big channels are the ones causing all the problems, and they're crushing the little guy. The guys that are just, here to converse and have fun, and they're going to totally black out your videos and put them in a corner with a little kid's table, as I like to refer to it now. So all us sitting at the little kid's table, we'll just be able to commute with each other. We won't be able to talk to the general public, is the way I read that. And spread any message that you would like to spread, whether it's baking cookies, fixing cars, or talking about the end of the world. All the above. Because you need to have some good cookies at the end of the world. But yeah, check that out. Let's go back over here. See what else Drudge is hiding down towards the bottom. That was the biggest thing I was following yesterday. They're still talking about the flu outbreak. If it's not big in your area, well, you just probably haven't heard about it. Probably haven't been paying attention to your local news, because it seems like every state is under a what they call a severe influenza warning or whatever. I don't know what they're going to call it, a warning, what they're going to do, but everybody supposedly has bad influenza this year. I don't think I've seen anything out of the norm as far as there's been a high number of deaths, but it still goes to what would be a normal flu year, I guess, from what I'm seeing and what I've heard. It's just kind of a little panic attack everybody's throwing out there. Eat healthy, be healthy. Your day's going to come. If you're 70, 80 years old, a little less the flu. Here's a story related to our federal land. I hadn't seen this yesterday. This may have just come out. This came out. This is today, so this is new. I mean, this story could have been for anywhere in the last 100 years, right? Federal overreach in the ranch lands. This is specifically about Oregon. Of course, they're going to focus in on one part. This is the New York Times. Interesting that they've not made the federal agents fearful, but the people. So that's a change in attitude. So let's check that out. New York Times. It's on Drudge there, you saw, and directly deals with federal supposed land in the West and the restriction thereof, especially for those trying to produce goods and services, ranchers and farmers, and others, miners and otherwise. So go check that out. Chris Ann Hall's quoted in here. She was the evening's keynote speaker. I guess she was up there speaking. And this is, of all things, if you don't know how much of a hack job Southern Poverty Law Center is, Chris Ann Hall is included on their list of 990 anti-government groups and figures in the United States. I just let that speak for itself. Hope everybody brought your own coffee. We got a couple more join us out there. Walter Davis, Barry Wood. Thanks for joining us this morning. Hope you're having a good morning. Walter, hope you're warm. I know you and Saints are probably experiencing similar degrees. Even though it's sunny, 16 is never comfortable, especially you have to get out and work in it. There was a story yesterday about the Koreas looking to do a joint Olympic team, and I believe they announced they would do it. I don't see it up here on the top headlines, but I get confused when I hear that we're going to nuclear war and then them and their neighbors are singing Kumbaya going into the Olympics. I'm not sure what to make of all that. It confuses me. Does it confuse anybody else? Might be just me. But there's a story out there if you want to go check it out. Look for it. The two Koreas joining and marching in on at the Olympic Games together as one team. 70 years old historical event. You know, it's not a little small thing. All right, let's get off Drudge here. Let's see what's going on in the markets. In a major reversal, the Dow finished at another record above 26,000, I believe, yesterday. It was right there. Let me just go to the U.S. So, yeah, we're still at 26,000 and above. It spiked. So you had the day before over 26,000, dropped way down yesterday and popped back up. I'm sorry, the day before, then popped back up yesterday and still above 26,000. So that's going all over the place. You can see 322 points just yesterday alone to get that close. So it's all kinds of volatile. Your 401k is still relatively solvent if you're worried about such things, but it does give you an attitude of where everybody's putting their cash. We talked about the cryptos yesterday with their major sell-off and a knockdown. There's a story on CNBC. They're just moving up higher a little bit, so they didn't tank totally, I guess, or you definitely would hear about it all over the YouTube and G+, because pretty much everybody's vested in that. I did find it interesting. I was watching the Adam Kokesh arrest video yesterday, and he was commenting to people on the stream when he was waiting, and they were asking him if he had bought stuff in his sofa and Bitcoin and stuff. And yeah, he's probably pretty heavily invested in Bitcoin. If he didn't get out already, he probably should, because he's probably just short of a millionaire, I would imagine. Unless, of course, he's holding on for the currency effect, which I don't know if that's a smart idea. So the market's starting off on a little downside. Gold, oil, kind of holding where they're at. They haven't done anything in the last week or so out of the ordinary. And it's always going to be the bond market. So this is the real conundrum if you're following the economy and what's next and what the Fed does. The 10-year going up is never a good sign. It means you get more to get a dollar. Is that the right way to say it? But basically it means nobody wants to buy dollars, so they have to pay you more to get a dollar. I had a discussion with a fellow the other day on the net about what exactly the Fed did and who controls the economy. Everybody's trying to give the president all these props. Well, the Fed controls the economy and the price of money, but nobody will pay attention to that. So it's just a matter of time. I see Barry talking about hyperinflation. We're just waiting, right? I mean, it's just a matter of time. I mean, you can't look at some of these charts and see where they're at and believe that anything but hyperinflation is next, because it went it's like Bitcoin. The stock market chart isn't much different than Bitcoin. It's just slightly variance of time, and it starts that pattern up, and it's going to crash at some point. Probably in our lifetime, and maybe not, but be prepared, right? On the hashtag current news social media front, let's see, other team united. There's the that's USA Olympics. Nothing. Florida freeze. I guess it's freezing in Florida, as we've kind of talked about down south. I didn't see anything earlier in my browse that would make me believe there's anything impending, urgent, or no fires mall shootings, nothing like that really hits the radar. There was a good meme out there about up your game from the Tide Pods and go to it was Ajax or something like that, doing lines at Ajax. It's like, yeah, if you move on from pods, if you need a little more fix, go on to snorting Ajax or something. There's a story came out yesterday talking about ICE doing a crackdown in sanctuary cities, and in particular, talking about coming into San Francisco and Northern California was the story. And I didn't see that on Drudge, but the biggest thing I was asking is, why are they going to Northern California? Shouldn't they start in Southern California? But there was the big hoopla from California about they're not going to support ICE coming in. And I'm just like, well, how about local sheriffs not supporting all the other three-letter agencies doing their thing? Would be a good start. There's a nice picture. Let's give that the little like there. Locally here, we have some issues in Nevada with mental health. Don't be mentally ill. And that's kind of disturbing. If you have any family members or anything, there's been we're in about a 7-8 year problem cycle of the mentally ill and a lack of support, I guess you'd say, for those people. And here you can see some of the housing conditions and whatnot. There's a story of that. This is a Reno Gazette Journal. We've had an earthquake swarm here south of Reno in the south, what's called the South Meadows area. You can see that cluster, 230 quakes. Granted, they're all like indiscernible, like you can't feel them, but they're measurable and all tightly congested that one area, which I don't know what that means, but that's not too terribly near me. So, but I couldn't get to Reno. If that did go down, that wouldn't be fun. Let's go to see what other kind of Nevada news we got here. The rural county news, usually pretty light, but slow news day. We don't have any flooding this year, so all everybody's talking about right now is the flooding from last year and how historic that was. Health. Don't take those meds they give you, folks. They're not going to help. Need to find out another way. It's funny when the paper has a whole section just on marijuana, right? I don't know if this is talking about the business side or the other side of it. It's hard to say. All right. I didn't see anything on the G Plus when I was over there earlier as well. There's a good stat for you. Why do you carry it home? Because 100% of all home invasions happen at home. Is there another reason? Sounds legit. Oh, goodness. All right. So that about does it for the news update. We got about 10 minutes left. Anybody out in the chat got anything news related from their area or they've seen this morning they'd like to put me on the trail of, discuss, talk about the weather, which we already done, but if the weather's different in your area, Barry said it was snowing up here, or sorry, wet in Washington, so raining, like it must be similar to that in Idaho and Montana. I don't know if you caught the very beginning, Barry, but there is a significant wet pattern coming in for Friday, they're saying, so hope you're all ready for that. But yeah, so slow news day. I don't know what to say to keep your eyes on. Good morning, Food Forest Permaculture. Thanks for joining us. We went through the weather and the news. We're kind of wrapping it up. You got anything you want to push out that you're seeing on your radar that you'd like to share with us, put us on the trail of to keep on our radar as well? Oh, Barry, are you on the coast? That would be lots of fun. Maybe get your surf gear out. Outhouse. Saints, I have a heart. Saints says his outhouse seat was cold this morning. That's a good joke. I don't think you're going to the outhouse, but hey, it's sustainable, right? So with that, I think we might wrap this up. Thanks for coming out, people. It's day 2 of our morning update, looking around, seeing what's coming at us. Speaking of snow blankets, all 50 states. I guess they're saying it's currently snowing, but because of snow that's already on the ground, that in Nevada, it's very minimal. It's just barely the highest mountains, definitely not the valleys. Since 2010. 2010, we had a lousy snow year too. Quit stealing all our snow there, Florida. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're in Canada there, food forest. Falling out of the sky in Edmonton. Nice. I did see that story yesterday too about the meteor in Michigan the day before, I believe. So you have several meteors coming out, rocks out of the sky. So in Edmonton, or food forest, you're not in Michigan, Canada. It took me a second there to. No, but you saw the story about rocks in Edmonton, huh? That was not what anybody was talking about. But wow, for things in Canada trickle down our way. Here's that story. Okay, here it is on Drudge about the sanctuary city strike by the feds and ICE. This is so. Local news is talking about how the local law enforcement is not going to support ICE in this effort. If you're in California, that's probably important. Walter doesn't think Russia, China trading their own currency will affect us much. I think, Walter, what you have to worry about is when Russia and China start buying oil from the Saudis and others in gold and in their own dollars or in their own form of currency, whatever they decide that is. There's been the BRIC, what they call Brazil, Russia, India, and China for years trying to do agreements to get around the dollar oil trade. Because that's that's the only thing that backs up the dollars. Everybody buys oil in it, and we have a military to go enforce that. Might want to look into that. And actually, I saw a story, dadgummit, who was it the other day, about China doing those deals with the Saudis and trying to work in a gold trade with them. Check on the performance of your investments. Yeah, range time is always a good, and it helps you check if your investments are performing properly, right? So Edmonton meteors, there's videos out there. That'd be good to check out. The Petro Yuan is today. Okay, I mean, that's what story I saw. I know I saw something about China looking to trade oil either in gold or otherwise. So if the Petro Yuan goes live, that's a big indicator. That's probably why bonds might be inching up, because they got to pay people more to try to buy dollars, make dollars, however you want to look at it. So we'll have to look into that. And that was not mentioned at all, of course, on CNBC, because nobody wants to know that you can buy anything in oil anything other than dollars, right? Let's see here real quick. Scroll down. Just maybe I didn't go down far enough. Here they talk about oil markets. I wonder if they slipped it in here somewhere in the last hour. Quit messing with my scroll job here, CNBC. Brent crude is above 70. Shut up. 2018 cuts in production. Yeah, nothing about China in there. Nothing on the side about China. But I'd seen a similar story. I didn't realize that it was today that it was going live. That is significant. I don't think people realize that. China eats up a lot of resources, and to use their own currency to go after one of the biggest is going to have problems for the dollar. All right. Yeah, we'll have a good day, everybody. We're going to wrap it up here, too. Thanks for coming out and joining us out in the chat. Dropping some good information. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Barry. That's the whole thing about hyperinflation. The value of the dollar drops. It takes more to buy stuff. And there goes it's Weimar Germany all over again. So thanks for joining us, people. Come out again tomorrow, day 3. Get ready to see if we're ready for what's coming at us. Can't prepare if we don't know what we're preparing for. Y'all know what to do. Go out there. Have a good day. Prepare and live free.